the spill. I'm joined now by David Crawford, fund manager at Octopus Investments. David, welcome. You're a shareholder in BP. You're not selling it right now. You're not buying it either, though, are you?
Yeah, actually, I bought it after the spill. The initial drop in the share price. The spill didn't look that bad. We thought they were going to clean it up pretty quickly. Obviously, things got worse. The shares have fallen, probably justifiably, because it's a bigger spill. It's taken longer. They're still struggling to get it sorted. I have bought more lower down. I'm obviously down on where I bought it, but I'm sticking with my position at the moment, especially down at these levels.
But investors generally seem to be fairly positive towards Tony Hayward and what he's done so far. Do you share that view?
I think so, because it's a very difficult situation. It was an accident. Maybe mistakes have been made. We'll find out what those mistakes were later down the line. But really, you want to decide things to find out who was at fault. You know, that's only going to come out over time. So to sort of blame him at the moment could only be about his response to it. And yeah, maybe at first they're a bit too bullish about it. They thought they could get it sorted very quickly, and that hasn't been the case. But then, you know, that's what he would have been told by his the people working for him.
Do you look at your share price and the possibility of a dividend and feel like the Americans, particularly Obama and senators, have been talking it down?
Yeah, I mean, they're being pretty tough, but they've got their own reasons why they might want to do that. Ultimately, this thing will hopefully go quieter. It will be a long burn in terms of legals and litigation. The end cost should be less than the fall in the share price, a lot less, hopefully, and hopefully there'll be a bit of a better rapport going on between the BP and the British and the American politicians at some point in the future.
I mean, BP has tried to be relatively open. As you say, they were criticised a little bit at the beginning. But since then, Tony Hayward has kind of done everything that you would expect from a PR manual in terms of staying in Louisiana, allowing those pictures to be shown. Is there anything more that you feel that he could be doing right now?
I don't think so. I mean, the dividend's going to be an important one because that could send some sort of message. Now, I would obviously like the dividend to be paid, but obviously they could say, well, we're taking pain by passing our dividend or suspending it until we know for certain what this is going to cost. Now, that unfortunately does seem fairly sensible. I'm not saying that's what they should do, but that might be something that would work in terms of the right message to give. And for me, I'm on buying the shares on the long-term value. If the dividend's passed over for a year or suspended, that doesn't change the overall picture or value of the business. It may
affect the share price in the short term.
It could do, although I think people, only for those perhaps who, people should be looking at the long-term value of it rather than what the dividend. Obviously, some funds need the dividend, that may have an effect. But I guess a lot of those funds may have already looked to sell anyway because of the uncertainty.
Now, if we look at what's going to happen with the dividend, BP has constantly said that it does have the funds both for the clean-up and for the dividend, and I think analysts looking at the stock have agreed with that. So if they did suspend the dividend, it would be rather political, wouldn't it?
Well, it might be, because the costs of the clean-up will take a lot of time, and actually, if it all came in 1 year or 2 years, yes, they probably wouldn't have money for the dividend, but they know that it will take a lot of time. They've also got good banking facilities. So in normally these situations, you would pay a dividend showing that you believe you've got the business is there, it's going to be there for the long term. So I guess it would have some political connotations if they did it, but that may not be the wrong thing, but that's obviously going to be the main thing to come out of the next few weeks, I suppose.
Now, as a shareholder, would you like to see British politicians stepping in and saying something to the Americans about the anti-British rhetoric, or as such has been perceived?
Yeah, well, I think so in a way, because they're being quite political about it in the States, and we can see that. It's more than just the commercials. So there's no reason why we shouldn't, there shouldn't be some support from BP. Now, BP's shareholders are nearly 40% from the US, so it's a multinational company, but obviously it's got its roots in Britain, and it's a large part of the British stock market. Indeed.
And what about what's going to happen with Tony Hayward? He's obviously going to have to appear in front of Congress to talk, that he will be meeting with Obama. What would you like to see him say to the Americans?
I think he should say we're doing everything we can. Mistakes may be made. We'll get to the bottom of that. And he may also talk about regulation in the industry, because it's not all BP's fault that there should have been probably better regulation around deep water drilling in the Gulf of Mexico. That's not really BP's call, that sort of regulation.
Indeed. Thank you very much for coming and joining us today and talking about that.